Shut up and sit down.
Hello guys, it's Andy from Bigmeks Workshop and Painting Studio, and today I'm painting a Wordbearer's Contemptor Dreadnought, which is an absolutely stonkingly good thing. So what I've started off with a bit of zenithal highlighting, just to add a bit of richness to the red sections, as it's going to be a chaos variant of the Contemptor, and Dodge is the maestro who built the thing, as I was busy doing other things. Yeah, apparently there's a lot of fun to build. I've put a Night Lord one together and they are great kits, really well posable. So the first coat of the red is Vallejo's German Brown. It's a bit of a go-to base red for us. It does give a really rich coat. Now, as always, I'm doing this with an airbrush just because it makes things a bit quicker for us. It can be done by hand, as we've always said. Just make sure you get the layers nice and smooth, very thin, which I even did with the airbrush this time around. I did a few very thin coats. A couple of reasons. One, because I wanted to have a nice finish on it. And secondly, I made the mixture a bit too thin, so it needed me to do it a couple of extra times anyway. And there we are. We're getting a nice, good quality finish over the of the base red. It's got the highlights from the white show through just gently. It just adds a little bit of variation to the colour. As you've seen on the Blood Angels tutorial, we're using the Vallejo yellow primer. This adds some nice hot spots to the colour. You won't be able to see it through once the full red goes over the top. It's just to add the colour variation again. Really makes the paintwork look a lot more interesting. You've got to be aware though that this is a lot easier to do with an airbrush. It's just, but just applying these extra filters really does make the difference. Now I'm going with the same colour palette initially as with the Blood Angel. It's the Vallejo red colour. It just goes over really well over these and just gives you a nice rich red. Now some people would like this red. I wanted a slightly different tone to it, so I went up a bit more. Adding a bit of fiery orange to the mixture. Now I've just made it a little bit too bright once I got it down. So I made sure to spend a lot of time just layering up some very thin down washes to the areas, just to bring it all back to have a really deep crimson. And what you're getting is a very interesting base colour with loads of different tones to it. Now here's that's the airbrushing work done. So I'm just patching in, blocking in all the non-red colour sections now, using our typical Vallejo black primer. We tend to use this for all our black work. It's just what I've got used to using. Decent quality paint. Thins down really nicely. Really mixes well. So all the sections, what aren't going to be in the red, I've gone over with the black. A couple of thin layers, really just to just gives you a nice baseline from where you're working. So what I'm doing now is a very thin down black wash. This is where I'm doing the shading in, just to bring that extra layer down a touch. It took a long time. It's about 4, 5, 6 layers maybe of thin down black wash with a touch of red in as well, just to keep it matching the rest of the colour. I went down across all the red sections. The trim on the armour, I wanted to use 2 different colour silvers because obviously you've got all the mechanical workings. So the trim is done in gunmetal by Vallejo, and the inner workings of all the silver was done in Lead Belcher. Now, the reason I did this is because they are subtly different colours, so it doesn't look like a solid block of silver, which, as anyone has seen themselves, if you use too much of the same colour on, especially with the metallics on a single fig, it just looks a bit naff. So having them subtly different shades really does add a lot. So it's something to bear in mind for future products, just to make sure that you use, even if it's all going to be silver work, just to differentiate between the two sort of areas. The books and the purity seals, for want of a better term, I decided I was going to use a sort of a flesh sort of colour. It looks like the sort of very ritualistic items, so I thought it'd be sort of done in some kind of human flesh sort of thing. So I just started off with a base of Cadian flesh, which is a great little colour actually, it really works well. And I wanted to add a little bit more variation in mechanical workings and that, so I added the Leo Rust, which is a sort of a coppery colour. So I threw that into the real inner workings and also onto the studs of the rivets, etc., just to break up the solid sections of silver. Once I've got the all the base coats down, obviously starting with the shading and the highlights, I'm using GW's Northern Oil as the wash over all the silver work, and I'll just give it a good healthy wash a couple of times with a bit of thin down, just to bring out those details and really start to make the definition of the and the nooks and crannies stand out a bit. And all in all, it's a bit of a liquid skill moment. If you can get it, once you get it on there, it really does take to the model very well. And now to the highlighting. This, because of all the runes written into the figure, was quite tricky at times. So I started off with Mephiston red, edge highlighting all the way around all the edges, just to make them edges pop up a little bit. But I had every intention of doing 2 or 3 layers of edge highlighting around the entirety of the fig. Making sure and trying to stay to the upper reaches. Now here we are, I'm doing the inside of the runes. Now the reason I do that is because I wanted them to make to look like it was some kind of spell warding. So I'm using the Mephiston red as very carefully. I'm going through the insides of the edges of the runes, so it's highlighted against the darker armour plating. Once I've gone around all that with the Mephiston red, I then mixed some Evil Suns into it, really making a nice bright highlight. Obviously not highlighting as far around as as I had on the Mephiston, but just keeping the highlights still fairly long, as there was still a little way to go with an additional highlight to go in. So here we are. I've gone around the runes. I've not gone as far as I had done with the Mephiston red. I kept bringing the runes in slightly, allowing it to look like it was hotter towards the centre of the model, rather than as if the spell was coming out. Now I've added a touch of fiery orange into the Evil Suns to add real final highlight sort of colours towards the centres of the highlights, and I'm also working the same colour into the runes Again, not going as far through, bringing that sort of spell looking effect towards the centre of the figure. Now if you do go over the lines a little bit, it's not a massive drama, you can just wipe it off, because it's quite well defined sections of the sculpt. So now I'm using yellow now into the real centres of the runes, and I'm being extra careful to keep away from spilling too far over onto the armour itself. A little bit looks good, because obviously it gives you that sort of OSL looking effect. But you need to be very careful, because it needs to stay towards the centre of the runic plating. Once I've done that, I had to then start work on the black sections. I went through the runes on the black sections with Sky Grey, and the armour itself started off highlighted a mix of black, grey and black. I wanted the highlights to be very gentle. One thing I did learn, I don't paint a lot of black, and it is an absolute swine to make look good. Once I've got a good grounding on the black grey, I then used straight black grey, which is a Vallejo paint, and started moving towards the more pronounced areas of the black plating sections. Now, I have to reiterate, painting black is so difficult because you've got nowhere to go with it. So you just be very, very careful. Make sure that them lines are nice and thin, otherwise it really does stand out. Once the black grey sections have been done, I then started adding more edge highlights, moving up towards Eshin Grey by Games Workshop paints, and then finally with what's the next one up? Eshin. Yeah, moving up to Dawnstone with a touch of Eshin Grey to bring it just to bring it down a little bit, so it really does match the rest of the paintwork. Once I was happy with the black sections, I went to the flesh tones, which were done in my standard fashion of mixing Cadian with light flesh after a good old fashioned regal and flesh shade wash. Much in the same way as any other. I just trying to define the upper sections where the light would hit. Very simple. Adding more and more light flesh towards the more pronounced areas. Now there is a very, very subtle bit of engraving work done into the book, and even on the purity seals. It's very, very difficult to actually paint now. So the centre flame on the torso is again based with the Vallejo copper. No, it's not. Sorry, it's what's that corn colour? No, the copper. Brass Scorpion. Painted with Brass Scorpion. Sorry, I had a bit of a. I should have made a paint list today. I literally just wanted to get this straight up and done. I was feeling feeling a bit of a mood for it today. So I do apologise for that pause in the video. So yeah, Brass Scorpion was the base for the centre torso's flame section and on the head. And the highlight on the silver has gone back to gunmetal on the initial highlights after the wash had been taken. And then I moved up to and gentle touch of chrome towards the more extreme edges. Here we are. Just a touch of chrome just around the extreme edges. Just to add that little touch of light to the figure itself. The flames and the fire icon type things were highlighted with Runelord brass and then washed down with Agrax. Again, the same way as we did the Aquila on the Blood Angels. First highlight on the mechanical sections was done again in Leadbelcher, as bringing it up to the standard base coat once you've got a good wash of the figures is a really nice way of adding a highlight without taking the model too high up. After the Leadbelcher went down, it was the Leo Chainmail was the top highlight for the mechanical sections. Apologies for the camera angle here. It was very difficult to get a decent camera angle and paint those areas at the same time. Once the Agrax has gone down, it's a gentle highlight with Scalafrax Bronze. I think that's pronounced right. It's a GW paint. It's a really weird name. It's very, very thin. So you have to be quite sparing. You have to use a few layers of it because it doesn't really have much coverage. Anyway, that's all we've got time for in this particular video. I hope you at least enjoyed it. I really need to remember to do a paint list next time. But thank you for watching, and take care, and see you in the next one, guys. Bye bye.